Alright, so my name is Lacey Travis, and this is my weekly summary for week 3 of Physics 111. And so the first thing that we did this week was we responded to the Waiting for Superman discussion, in which we had to watch the video of the educational system in America. And so here is just one of my responses to one of my classmates' initial posts, and I was just agreeing with him that the structure of our educational system is a big contributor to the problems that we're having as far as a lack of quality education. And so then the next thing that we did is we had to do some research and find an article as far as homeschooling or charter schools or private schools as an alternative to public schools. And so I found this article from the Huffington Post, and as it says, it's that homeschooled students are well prepared for college as found by a study, and they're just better. Basically, the article sums up that they're just better prepared socially, and they have an easier transition, and they also have a higher graduation rate. They have a 66.7% compared to a 57.5% of their public educated peers, which is a pretty big difference. And so I just found that really interesting. And so then we also, for our NEAT resource, we had to find some type of hacker or maker space. And so I found this article about how they are trying to create maker spaces in schools. And so there aren't currently too many programs like this going on. They're mainly, these schools are just setting aside time during the school day for kids to have creative projects, and they provide all of the materials, and so it just helps to let them explore and get their brains stimulated and thinking in new ways. And so then next we also had to pick our topic for the controversial debate, and I chose to argue both sides on that whether people should take vaccines to protect their health and the health of others. And then the next thing that I did this week was I did the 6th VPython program, and I went through part 2. I couldn't quite get part 3 figured out, but here is my part 2. And so I just did 2 different balls, and I actually played around with the textures on them a little bit. So that was fun. And then also we watched a video on how to create a spreadsheet numerical model for the spiral kinematics activities. And so I did that for activities 20 and 21. And so here is my model for activity 21 and my model for activity 20. And the values from activity 21 actually came out fairly close to what I got by calculating by hand. Here's my image of doing this activity 21. And then activity 20, the acceleration that I got was a little bit different than the one that Excel calculated, but it was off by, I believe, 0.20 or somewhere around there. So, I mean, it's still very close. And then we also had to do activities 22 and 23. And so here are my images of activity 22 and activity 23. Activity 22 gave me some trouble this week, but I did eventually get it figured out, so that's good. And then there was another discussion about the teach and test ain't learning, and we were introduced to the monylation of Traxaline, where we had to read this short excerpt and then take a little test, which all the answers were pulled directly from the excerpt, and it's all in almost complete gibberish. It makes no sense. And then we had to watch this video of this scientist talking about the turbo encabulator, and he's speaking in a language that is so far beyond me, and probably half of that is made up as well. But the point taken from both of these is that I think this is a common problem in our education system today, is all this information is being thrown at these kids and they don't understand it, and thanks to overcrowding, there's just no way to go through it with each one and explain it in different ways so that they do understand. So that I find to be pretty sad. And then we needed to find a neat resource about video games and learning. And so I found this PDF that basically just addresses how computer and video games can actually benefit children, because it enhances their memory and problem solving skills and just teaches them to think in different ways. And it was written by a professor at the University of Wisconsin. So this was just a really cool article, just tying all the video game stuff together with the education. And then we also had to pick our video game with our group, and so my group and I chose to make an Angry Birds style game. Depending on the software available to us, we will make some type of animal instead of a bird, but it might just be a ball. But we want to assign points for things that are knocked over based on attempts and difficulties. So we still need to have a lot of work to do to try to figure that out, but we will. And then the other thing that we had to do, basically the other thing that we had to do aside from learning how to make the screencast that I'm using to do this weekly summary, is we had to do another video analysis of acceleration in our world. And so I chose this video of a volleyball being kicked. And so luckily I was able to get it to go in a straight path. But then after doing the point mass, we analyze it, and I found not only the velocity but also the acceleration for this. So again, just applying more of what I'm learning to my daily life. But yeah, the last thing we did was create this weekly summary with screencast, which is all completely new to me. I've never done this before, but it's really cool to learn how to do, because you never know when it'll come in handy. So I think it was a good week 3 in this class, and I'm looking forward to moving on to week 4.